All right, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? How's it going? I am Is There No One Else? I'm bringing you a build video today for my Stam Nightblade. This time with the microphone working. So we're gonna try it with sound this time. I think it's gonna be a little bit better than no sound. I'm in the preliminary stages of trying this out. We'll see how it goes, but I think this should be better. As you guys know, I came out with a build about 5-6 weeks ago for Clockwork City. It's pretty good. I enjoyed it. Found a set, got a wild hair. Basically thought of something, thought of an idea, and wanted to try it, and I like it more. So I felt like it warranted an updated build video. So I'm going to go into the down and dirty of the build, what we're running, skills, CP, all that fun jazz, and then I'm going to go into why we're running what we're running, why this is effective, all that fun stuff. So if you're curious, pay attention till the end, and I'll, talk about all the stuff as we get to it. So as far as consumables go, we're running Lavafoot, Soup, and Saltreese. This is going to be a bow and 2H Stamina Nightblade build. We're running Lavafoot, Soup, and Saltreese. One of our classes one of our sets gives us a health bonus. We can put in enough health in our bar to where we can run max stamina recovery, boosts our overall sustain, gives us a little bit more damage than Dubious Cameron Throne. You see 3,200 max stamina versus 4,575. If we can get away with this, we're going to hit a little bit harder with this food compared to the other foods. And we're going to sustain a little bit better because we get a little bit more recovery. As far as potions that we're going to be running, Detect Pots, Try Pots, and then against heavy dot builds, we're going to run Lingering Health Pots. Yeah, so kind of depends on your fight. Pick and choose what you need. They're all very effective. For our bow, we're running the Master's Bow. I switched the trait to Nirnhone to try it out. Basically, in my opinion, there's like 3 or 4 good options. Powered increase your healing quite a bit. Nirnhone gives you good damage against shields, good overall flat damage that also boosts your healing. Infused buffs your enchant, so you'll get, when you switch to your front bar, you'll have more flat damage for all of your other skills. And then Sharpened is, higher penetration against heavy armor builds. You can choose which one you want. I was doing Infused. I liked Infused quite a bit. I switched over to the Nirn because I wanted the Vigor heals, and I wanted to buff my poison injection dot just a little bit more. That's why I went with this way. I can't tell you which one I think is better because I really don't know. They're both good for different reasons. So if you like Infused, the nice part about right now is you can retrait pretty easily. So try Infused, try Nirnhone, see which one you like the best. Yeah, and make your choice from that. This is one of the strongest weapons in the game. You get 301 weapon damage when you use poison injection on a target. On top of that, we can now enchant it, and so we can add more weapon damage. So this weapon gives us 648 weapon damage to one target, which is very effective. Stamina Nightblades really excel in single target damage. This is just as much damage as a 5-piece Clever Alchemist, So this is just a very, very strong weapon. We're running the Asylum's Greatsword on the front bar as well. Now, the reason we're running this is when you look at the enchant, when you deal damage with a reverse slash, you generate up to 14 ultimate based on how much execute bonus damage it is dealt. Reverse slice is our execute. When we're 1vxing, a lot of our kills are going to come off poison, light attack, poison injection, ambush, surprise attack, fear, incap, execute. This allows us to build our ultimate a little bit quicker so that we can then nuke the next person. The quicker we can melt people, melt a person, get onto the next target, that means the less people that are going to be attacking us. So this is just very valuable for that. This is a very strong weapon as well. You don't have to run this. You can run the VMA two-hander and run crit rush instead of ambush. You could do that. You could honestly fit one of the 5 pieces on the front bar and then just run like a monster shoulder. There's a bunch of ways to run this if you don't want to run the Asylum 2H. We're also running double drain health poisons. These just provide a lot of pressure. They're a lot of damage to one person. Nightblades don't have a ton of dots, and so this is just, with our burst, this is just going to tick quite a bit. Our in cap gives major defile. When we have that, it's going to be really, when our poison goes off, it's going to be really tough for a lot of stamina classes to sustain against that. We're also running 5 7th Legion. Now, I've talked about 7th Legion quite a bit. 7th Legion is just one of the strongest heavy armor builds or sets for 1vxing. You know, I've been running this set on other builds for quite a while for good reason. A lot of weapon damage for the 5-piece. You see 483 with a procs, and then the heal for 1369. That heal really does add up. If you wore like 5-piece Hundings and you wore it for like 2 hours on a build for PvP, and then you switch to 5-piece 7th Legion, you'll notice a difference in your survivability with 7th Legion compared to Hundings. It doesn't look like a big heal, but for, you know, it really does make a difference in fights for your survivability. So there's no cooldown for this, so if you're fighting outnumbered, this can basically be up all the time potentially. So we are going to take damage occasionally. We're not going to have the ability to permacloak, so we want to have the heal and we want to have the burst. So that's why we're running 7th Legion. As far as the other 5-piece and where a lot of the questions for this build are going to come from, we're running 5-piece Bark Skin. Bark Skin, you'll see the set right here: max health, stamina recovery, physical resistance. Reduce the duration of immobilizations and snares applied to you by 50%. When an immobilization or snare is applied to you, heal for 2,072 health and restore 942 stamina. This effect can occur once every 5 seconds. So for the full set, you know, maxed out, it's 1,000 stamina every 5 seconds. That's 200 stamina a second. That equals out to 400 stamina recovery. So this is a 400 stamina recovery 5-piece set that also reduces the duration of mobilizations and snares by 50%. So already the 400 stamina recovery in combat, and I'll go through all like a good chunk of the immobilizations and snares. This is a very good sustain set already with just the amount of stamina recovery you get. But on top of that, we get a heal and we get reduced duration. So we can't run shuffle anymore. That was our snare removal before. We can't remove snares, but now we can reduce how much they snare, or how long they snare us for. We're running 3 jewelry, 2 body with this 5-piece heavy 7th Legion, and then on top of that, we're running 2 recovery enchants with 1 weapon damage. As far as our food goes, I already explained that. We're running the Warrior Mundus to increase our weapon damage. You can run 2 weapon damage enchants, and then you can run the Serpent. It doesn't really matter. As far as our skills go, on our back bar, we're running Leeching Strikes, Relentless Focus, Shadowy Disguise, Poison Injection, Resolving Vigor, and Ballista. Ballista is really good for tankier targets. It just puts a lot of pressure on people. We can drop it, we can ambush in, we can do damage with our Ballista. Very effective. Front bar, Incapacitating Strike, Surprise Attack, Mass Hysteria, Rally, Ambush, and Reverse Slice. As far as our CP goes, we'll dive into this, and then I'll explain the gear. 44 into Warlord, 64 Mooncalf, 32 into Tenacity, 51 into Tumbling, 39 into Befoul. Very effective for a Nightblade. Nightblades have Defile on their end cap, so we want to buff that so that when we're fighting a Stam class or just a class that can't purge and they're trying to heal, we're reducing their healing a little bit more so we can finish them off a little bit easier. 27 into Bless to increase our healing, 44 Master at Arms, 53 into Piercing, 49 Mighty, 26 Precise Strikes, 23 into Thaumaturge, 30 into Resistant, 40 Ironclad, 26 Thick-Skinned, 49 Hardy, 48 Ellie Defender, 37 Quick Recovery. So that's the CP, that's the gear, that's the skills. Now, the next 10 minutes or so, I'm going to explain why we're running what we're running. So this is a heavy armor build. In general, most people in PvP as a Stamina Nightblade, they run medium armor. And before I dive into all the specifics of why we're going this way, on my channel I've discussed how to make a build, and I've gone through some build videos for that. But in general, when you're making a build for a class, there's 2 ways that you can build them, a character. Either you can amplify a character's strengths and build to its strengths, or you can shore up their weaknesses. Now, a Nightblade's best strengths is they have built-in stamina sustain. They have a passive that gives them 15% stamina recovery. They have really high burst with their in cap. being able to animation cancel light attack, surprise attack. Surprise attack gives major fracture, so it's a very bursty class. And their weaknesses, and on top of that, they can also cloak. Cloak is a good way to survive against, just about everybody. It's also a good way to just never really die against really bad players that don't know how to deal with cloak. So a lot of people right now in open world PvP, they run medium armor Stam Nightblades with good stamina recovery, really high damage, and good magicka recovery. And what they decide to sacrifice is the resistances, because they're basically using their way to survive is to not get hit. So they're going to get in there, they're going to hit, they're going to get out, they're going to cloak, they're going to get away. And that's how a lot or most stamina Nightblade builds are currently built. Shuffle, remove snares, they can cloak pretty easily, they can get the distance, they can re-enter the fight, they can pick and choose their targets very well. It's a very strong way to play, very effective. There's a reason just about everybody's running medium armor, shuffle, high recovery Stam Nightblades with really high weapon damage. It's because it works. A lot of people don't know how to deal with Nightblades, and they don't know how to deal with the damage that's coming in, how to deal with people with cloak, and so it's very effective. What this does is it shores up your weaknesses against a lot of classes. Oftentimes when you're running those types of builds, you can't stand toe-to-toe with some of, specific classes. Like if you run across a group of 3 people or 2 or 3 people and they're good players, and you see a Magicka Templar and a Magicka DK, and you're a Stam Nightblade running medium armor, like high recovery, you're probably just going to let them pass. Because the one guy's going to purge all your dots, he's going to heal you, and the other one's going to lock you down in talons. You're going to hit with a bunch of dots, you're going to have a hard time healing, you're going to die. You can pick better targets than those guys. This type of build, what we're sacrificing is we're sacrificing our magicka recovery. So we're upping our resistances. We're making ourselves more tanky. Our sets, our Barkskin and our 7th Legion and our Leeching Strikes, all are going to heal us. So this makes up for the lack of healing that a Nightblade has. So we're running 2 sets that give us heals. Leeching Strike gives us heals. So we won't have to rely on cloak. So when we're fighting, a Magicka DK or a Magicka DK and a Templar, we don't have to cloak and get away. We can stand toe-to-toe with those guys for the most part. When we take pressure from an ultimate, we cloak, we heal up, we come back into the fight, we dish out our damage. So 7th Legion is a very strong damage set, fully buffed, with everything procced. We're at around 3,800 weapon damage with this setup. So very strong that way. We have a lot of passive healing. We still have really high recovery. If I dive into our sets and we look at our overall stats, buffed with Relentless and Rally, we're sitting at 2388 stamina recovery, 32k stam, around 21.5 health in PvP, and 2,500 weapon damage. Now keep in mind we're missing 500 weapon damage from 7th Legion, we're missing the 350 from the weapon damage enchant, and we're missing the 300 from the bow. So we're going to roughly be around 3,700 weapon damage when all of it procs. And so what looks like very mediocre stats is actually amplified quite a bit when we're 1vxing when those sets go off. On top of that, as I said before, Barkskin gives us 400 stamina recovery for the 5-piece set, and it's not showing up on the character sheet. So, our overall stats, oh, I took the wrong potion, but our overall stats, 2388, is actually 2788 stamina recovery. Now, why is Barkskin so good? Why do we want to run Barkskin? Not only does it give you the 400 stamina recovery, but it also gives you a heal, which is beneficial for a Nightblade, beneficial for any class trying to survive. But just about every skill in PvP has an immobilization or a snare to it. Now, what's an immobilization? An immobilization is something that kind of restricts your movement. So, talents. If you jump into a Sork Mines and you get locked in place, that's an immobilization. If you hit a trap beast, that's an immobilization. If you get hit with a fossilize and you break it and you're stuck there, that's also an immobilization. The effect after you break the CC, That's an immobilization. So those will all proc it. On top of that, any type of snare will also proc the Barkskin set. So Lotus Fan has a snare aspect to it. Stampede has a snare. Flying Dagger, the dual wield skill line, that has a snare to it. Heroic Slash has a snare. The Nightblade Fear also has a snare. So when you look at Mass Hysteria is a CC, but what it also does is it reduces our movements, the enemy's movement speed by 53% for 4 seconds. So this is also a snare that's applied to us. So all of these will proc Barkskin. So if all of a sudden if a Nightblade fears us, we're going to get a burst, a small heal with Barkskin. We're going to get stamina. And then this 4-second snare is only 2 seconds. And so because we can't remove the snare duration, because we can't remove snares, removing the duration of snares is actually quite valuable. The 50% is quite a bit. So if all of a sudden we get feared, we're going to be snared for 2 seconds, but we can dodge roll, and we can cloak, and then literally our snare is gone, and then we can get back into the fight. Now, if I fully buff up and we look at our stats here, we're sitting at this. We have over 3,000 stamina recovery with this build, 3,700 weapon damage. You know, our surprise attack tooltip is like 11.5 fully buffed with this set. Our resistances are also very high, 2344 physical resist, 20,642 spell resist. So when we're fighting, we're going to have these resistances all the time because of how the Nightblade passives work. So we hit hard. We have really, really strong sustain. Strong enough sustain to where we can run lingering health pods against high dot targets, and we can kind of stay in the fight and just survive and dish damage back out. So if you play Stamina Nightblade and you've always enjoyed the cloak, kitey, ninja playstyle where you jump in and out and you pick and choose your targets, that's very fun. But if you're kind of tired of that for whatever reason, like all of a sudden you're tired of letting Stam and Magicka DKs pass because they're just too big of a pain in the ass to deal with, and you want to be more well balanced against everybody. This build is, in my opinion, is better for that. Those medium armor builds, better for 1vxing groups of bad players than this. Like any group that you run across that they don't know how to deal with cloak, a character that can permacloak is going to be more effective. So that's where medium armor really shines. But a lot of really good players know how to deal with cloaking Nightblades. They're going to have detect pots like I have. They're going to have skills. They're going to use their ultimate when you get to half health, which you will get to half health very easily on a Stam Nightblade, and they're going to zap you with a Soul Assault. Or if you're trying to 1vx, somebody's going to come in with a Permafrost, or somebody's going to come in with a Destro ult, and then you're going to be running for your life, and you're going to get zapped with Radiant, and you die. This allows you to have those resistances, have built-in healing on top of your normal healing, as well as the heavy armor passives that increase your healing. So we don't lose anything off of our flat damage. Like I said, we still hit very hard. I've been hitting anywhere from 10 to 15k in caps today on the high end. So I'm still hitting hard in caps. I'm hitting 14k executes. I'm still hitting very hard with this build, but we're sacrificing our Magicka recovery that a medium armor build has for increased damage, survivability, and healing, and using other skills on the Nightblade toolkit like Leeching Strikes to boost our sustain, and then also using sets that will also build into that. So yeah, so anyways, in general, my point is the medium armor build is kind of like playing like a ninja. You're getting in and out of fights, picking and choosing your targets. Your survivability is based off of hitting before you get hit. This is more like a samurai. You're still running a 2H. You're in heavy armor. You're just kind of in their faces, and you're doing Nightblade things, but you're not using cloak as much. So you're able to stand toe to toe with a lot more builds with this setup. So this is what I've been running. This is honestly what I enjoy. Like I think I could run quite a bit less recovery, but I'm still tweaking it. I'm enjoying it for the survivability in open world PvP. If I went to the sewers, I'd probably adjust my enchants a little bit more, but that's the build. If you guys have any questions or comments, please provide in the section below. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.